What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to our channel, we create content like what you're watching right now, simply to educate and engage individuals like yourselves on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name is Capt. Nostalgia. I'm a writer, podcaster, and director of our film festival entitled Horrific Hope. First film festival of its kind to be horror-centric and mental health focused. I'd like to submit your nightmares to our upcoming festival. It is going to be held at the Alamo Draft House in Winchester, Virginia, April 14th and 15th, 2023. Links are in the descriptions below. We're also doing a screenwriting contest, so come submit your short films, feature-length films, and screenplays of all varieties. We would love to see them and read them. In the show notes below, you're also going to find links to our podcast, social media, how to support us financially, and help us get mental health resources into other film festivals like GenreBlast and conventions and more, as well as our mental health resource library, most importantly. And I'm back with another GenreBlast selection. This one is called Stag. Note, if you actually Google this one, you have to type in 2023. For some reason, IMDb recognizes this as a movie released next year, not this year. There's like 8 other movies with this name, so let's jump into it and talk about how this movie separates itself from the other movies with the same title. This movie, entitled Stag, tells the story of Jenny, who is a New York City telemarketer who's kind of a loner by trade, and she used to have friends and finds out that one of her former besties is actually getting married and reconnects with her, and it goes to her bachelorette party, and, well, chaos and a mystery ensue. The movie feels familiar. That being familiar is that I'm pretty sure I talked about this exact same movie a couple weeks ago. And I would be right, because during this year's Fantasia Fest, we covered a movie that had almost this exact same plot. And it is called Sissy, and it is coming to Shudder on Thursday, September 29th. I will link my review at the end of this video, and check out Sissy when it hits Shudder. Boom. Like, I would have had a little bit more of an appreciation for this movie had I not seen Sissy just a few weeks ago, because the two are so parallel in their narratives. But the big thing that I feel like Sissy has over it is characters that actually have depth. That's a good place to start about why Stag feels like a less superior story in the long run. With Stag, it's interesting because the characters feel so one-dimensional. Like, I'm not even really confidently sure about what happened between our two protagonists. The protagonists that we have in this, the two besties essentially reconnecting, are Jenny and Mandy, or as she now is called, Amanda. It's played by Mary Geln Frederick, and Elizabeth Ramos plays Mandy. Let me just start off by saying that Frederick really anchors this movie. Like, this movie is hers 100%. Like, yeah, it's just, her performance in this is incredible. She's absolutely the breakout star of this movie. I think had she not been in this movie would have fallen flatter than it already does. That said, Ramos, among the other actresses in this movie, they're fine. They're nothing really spectacular, nothing really exceptional. They make this movie passable. The thing in this movie is, again, it's fine. I would say the first 2 acts, there's a lot of missed opportunities to kind of explore the background of these characters. There's a cold opening in this movie that tries to tie into like a later scene in the movie, but it doesn't work. Genuinely, a couple parts in this movie that made me laugh. I think the humor in this movie is really well executed. It is far and few between that you get those humorous scenes, but when they are implemented into the story, they're natural and they feel actually genuinely funny. Chemistry between the characters is an interesting dynamic that I think plays really well into this. And so what I mean entirely by that is, here you have Ramos' character, Amanda, who kind of knows all of the central characters around her, and then you have an outsider in Frederick's Jenny. And the chemistry is really good, but the tension of those characters is equally good, and it's a good juxtaposition that really does suspense really well, but also at the same time it's a catch-22 because that suspense really isn't utilized to the film's full potential. When you talk about this movie from a horror movie aspect, so much of this movie feels like a drama that... Sorry, I had to collect my words for a second. On the front of this being a drama, it lacks the depth for its characters to really be that way. And like the way that these characters are positioned, they feel like slasher characters. But this movie is so far from a slasher that it feels unnatural to have these paper-thin characters in a movie of this capacity. But on the flip side, for this being a horror movie, it lacks the conviction to truly be terrifying, and it doesn't introduce any of its horror elements until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. Not even the last act of the movie, it's the last like 20 minutes of this movie. And by the time that you're already 70 minutes into a 90-minute movie, it just feels too late. It feels like you're trying to just kind of make this transition, and it doesn't work. It looks pretty though. Let's run this through our Rorschach rating scale. I'm gonna go ahead and give Stag 2023 a 2 out of 5. I think this movie has really noble ideas and intentions, but it lacks the execution necessary to rise to its true potential. And instead, what viewers are left with is a decent performances, breakout performance from its lead in Mary Geln Frederick, but it's paper-thin characters, and it's almost near nonsensical plot just kind of really make this kind of really fall flat on a number of levels. Interested in checking out Stag? As of right now, there's no news about this having distribution. There's no news about it hitting any streaming services. So keep an eye on socials. Again, all of those are going to be in the show notes below. And as soon as we hear something or know something or come across something, we'll retweet it and you guys can follow along. About mental health though. If you guys are new to our content, Mental Health Moment is where we take a theme of mental health from the film of which we're reviewing and host to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. One thing I think this film does really well is it speaks volumes on the importance of finding healthy community, not just community for community's sake, but community that you can grow with, laugh with, and community that's going to have your back. And without getting too much into like the twist of the movie, that's a lesson that a lot of characters in this movie learn. And look, I'm gonna speak from someone that made a lot of foolish mistakes as a teenager. I mean, I think a lot of us did, but for me, when I was chasing after community, I was chasing after people that would like me for the clothes that I wore or the music I listened to, or if I really wanted to date a girl, I would conform to what she would like so that I would be accepted. And in the long run, what I ended up finding out was that I found out that I was really unhappy and really depressed because of it. I had to change myself 100% in order to be accepted. And as an adult now, makes content based off of pop culture, and also runs a horror podcast talking about both good movies and really campy movies that are just very bizarre. Ooh. I've kind of come to the conclusion that I don't want my happiness to be dependent on what people think about me. Because I know in the long run that for my self-value and my self-love, that I deserve more than that. I deserve people that are going to like me for me and appreciate me for me being me. And this is what I want to encourage you with, is to find community that's going to accept you for you. Don't just chase after community and conform to other people's ideas of happiness, because in the end, you might find that other people's happiness is your idea of depression. As always, if you or someone you know is watching this and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, click the links in the show notes below and check out our mental health resource library. I really hope what I had to say in terms of community really helped any of you guys watching this, or any of you guys that stumbled across this video. Back later in the month and in October and maybe in November for more GenreBlast content. Like I said, we have tons of movies to be reviewing, and we're also juggling podcasting and our creature feature videos as well. So make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button below and check out all the cool stuff we have coming out. We have some really dope stuff I'm really excited to share with you guys. So make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button below and comment below. Tell me what favorite college movie you like. Have a good day.